Hello and welcome. My name's Chrissy and these are my mindful meandering. I wanted to bring you along the journey with me, as it were. I did a Design Your Careers course, which is found on edX. If you'd like to listen to my step through of what that entailed, I will put a link into the description. I have reached out to somebody that I know in my network that does mortgage broking and has been very successful in this industry for at least a couple of decades. So he is in a really great position because he's managed to partner with an organization that allows him to have an excessive amount of opportunities, whereas there are a lot of people who are doing mortgage broking at the moment who are sort of struggling a little bit because they're still trying to farm the work themselves, and it's quite a manual process if you don't have a continuous flow of clients. And therefore I understand that the industry is a little bit tough at the moment. Needless to say, there's still plenty of opportunities there. You just need to know the right people, have a good network, and away you go. So I had a chat with a friend of mine. He has an incredibly successful business and he went through a whole lot of the ins and outs and answered most of my questions. And after an hour and a half, I found myself kind of whirling with so much information that I really needed to take some time to think. That's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. And it gave me so much to work with because now I have a much better understanding of what the industry entails and how much work is involved, and some of the nitty-gritty day-to-day things was shared with me. He also covered some of the blessings that come with doing this sort of work, but also some of the challenges. If you're in the process of deciding what career path you want to do, or potentially considering changing career paths, I highly recommend reaching out to someone who's already doing that kind of work, because you get a really good feel for what you could potentially be doing and if that's the direction you actually want to go in. Now, for me, I think that there's a great opportunity there, but at the same time, I'm trying to take things in my stride and think about how my husband and I have positioned ourselves to get to where we are today, and how pursuing this type of a career could potentially benefit or harm the way in which we're doing what we're doing. One of the things that I identified in the process is that for me to pursue something like mortgage broking, it can be extremely lucrative if you've got the right connections and network, but at the same time it does take a few years to get off the ground. So you need to be prepared to take a hit for anywhere between 2 and 5 years, depending on how quick you are at building your client base. Now, I'm not suggesting that I couldn't do it, but in saying that, I'm also really mindful that this would take me in a very different direction. So on reflection, although the option still sounds like a very viable and interesting field to work in, I'm more leaning towards not doing it, which might seem quite odd given that I've spent so much time, effort and energy into finding out more. But that's all part of the process. That's a good thing. There's this big part of me that's like, oh yeah, it would be so good to learn more and to try something new. And there's a part of me that really, really wants to do that. But there's another part of me that's looking at it and thinking to myself, okay, 3 to 5 years or 2 to 5 years of potentially next to no income or low income, that in itself could present challenges, but also does it fit in with our lifestyle? Where Matthew and I are at the moment is we are gearing up to travel, particularly around Australia and then hopefully internationally. And so I'm inclined to think that doing something like mortgage broking at this point in time might completely put a stumbling block in front of what we've already worked so hard to get to where we are today. And I almost feel like in some ways it's the universe saying, well, you've done really well to get to this point, but do you really want it? And to that I say, yes, I do. I do really want to travel around Australia. I mean, we've just invested quite a lot of money into buying a van, and we're in the process of renovating that van and converting it into a camper. So yeah, I absolutely want to pursue that and explore the rest of the country. My intention is to absolutely be able to enjoy the ride. I mean, we're only on this world, on this planet for a short space of time, and I really want to be able to see and explore as much of this planet as possible, and I can't do that if I'm working all the time. So needless to say, I've decided that that's probably not a direction that I am prepared to take just at this point in time. However, one of the really great things that came out of that conversation was that my friend said to me, look, we don't normally like to take on new people because, one, we don't know their work ethic, two, it's really hard to be a mentor when you're very busy, and three, we just don't have the capacity, generally speaking, for that type of thing, and they really prefer to work with people who already have experience. So I had no intention or expectations when having this conversation. However, after an hour and a half of sitting on the phone, I actually felt really good because my friend said to me, look, I know a lot about you. I've known you for almost 10 years and I actually know how you work. You're very diligent, you're very meticulous, and you're very good at keeping your paperwork in order. And so should you wish to pursue this career, I would be open to mentoring you and potentially inviting you into the fold. So that really warmed my heart and made me feel really good, because at the moment it is kind of hard for me knowing that I'm not needed in the normal place that I work. Now, it is a really strange place to be. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I'm pretty sure you can tell that it's very emotional, and hearing this is being very vulnerable. So thank you for allowing me to share. It's not something I do very often, and so this is a very big learning curve and a big step for me. Needless to say, this is a very interesting journey right now. I'm experiencing and processing things that I've never had exposure to before. And at the same time, there's so many things that I'm trying to take into consideration. There's the fact that we've just built a van and we're doing a conversion and we're house sitting and we're doing all these different things all over the place. I'm learning to do podcasts and learning to use new tools for editing, and so I'm quite enjoying the process. I still have a lot of learning to do, and I do feel very green, but I do feel very grateful because my husband is a very patient man and he is sitting with me and sharing how to get the result that I'm trying to achieve, and that has been absolutely wonderful, and I'm so grateful. So what's next? I find myself thinking, how can we continue to do what we're doing and still enjoy the journey? And so one of the things that has come up for me as an option, I can quite easily go and find work doing accounts receivable, accounts payable, and accounts assistant and bookkeeping and all that sort of stuff. And I'm fairly confident that there's enough work out there to keep me busy should I wish to do that. And I may look at what my options are. I haven't yet. It's all very early days. So far I've only had 3 days off and I've got tomorrow off work. It gives me a chance to process and think about where to from here. And one of the things I said to my husband this morning, now this is totally unlike me because I'm used to certainty. I'm used to knowing where to from here, and I've got a very methodical, systemized way of doing things. So this is a very interesting next step for me. What I suggested to my husband was, how would you feel if for the next 12 months, if things continue in the same direction with the company I'm working with, how would you feel if we just did some work ad hoc? And essentially what I mean by that is our expenses are pretty low because of the way that we live. We do house sitting and we've got our van. And so, I mean, the most expensive thing we've got going on at the moment is the van conversion. And that's probably going to cost, I won't lie, quite a lot of money. The conversion in itself is about $30,000, I'm estimating, and 20,000 of that is going into the solar setup. The other 10 will go into the actual cabinetry and the bed and all that kind of stuff and making it look pretty. We can essentially travel for the cost of our fuel, and if we choose to stay at a campsite, then obviously we'll have to pay for the campsite. But if we do stealth camping, that's potentially going to cost nothing unless you're silly and you park in a location where you're going to get a fine, in which case it could be very expensive. So don't do that. Try and avoid parking somewhere. And essentially, that also means that all we really need to focus on covering are our basic needs: food and petrol and internet and telephone, and that is almost it. And then any extras that we choose to do, like for example, we're planning to go over to New Zealand and visit our friends and family, and so that's going to cost us, obviously. But essentially, the direction that we're going in means that we can live rather frugally, inexpensively, and hopefully be able to build up our financial resources again after the big hit that we've taken over the last few years. And that's the intention at this point in time. So from here, I've suggested that, okay, we may not have consistent work. However, if we can position ourselves so that we can do fruit picking, for example, then maybe we can do seasonal work when the season is right for tomato picking or strawberry picking or I don't know, oranges, you name it. There's so much food that we consume. For example, in Bundaberg, there are opportunities to do everything from picking mangoes to pineapples to strawberries. And I get that it's hard work and it's laborious, but I don't know about you guys. I really actually like the idea of getting away from the computer for a bit, because that's been my life for the last 20 plus years. I love technology and I'm not afraid of it, but sometimes I get annoyed with it. I'm sure most people do. But at the same time, the idea of being able to step away from the computer is actually quite appealing. So I'm kind of feeling like that could be the next little adventure for me. And in between, I will probably continue to educate myself and look at ways to continue to upskill, because I don't want to completely take my finger off the pulse. But I do want to explore other avenues. And so this could be really good for us. Now, in saying that, doing seasonal work like fruit picking and veggie picking and stuff like that, that's not the limit. There's so many options out there. I mean, we are in a society at the moment, here in Australia, we have an incredible lack of employees. And so it's really interesting, because if you want a really high level job, yeah, the space in the market is a little bit harder. But if you're not too worried and you're open to trying new things, there's actually huge bountiful opportunities out there. And I know this because we've been traveling around Australia for the last 2 years, actually longer, because we left Melbourne in 2021. And so there's a joke in Darwin that if you fall out of bed and you can't find work, you're doing something wrong, because there are more jobs available, or there's more work available for people to do than there are people to do the work. And so there's heaps and heaps of opportunities out there. And if we're willing to put our hand to anything, you name it, we could wait table, we could do baristing, we could work at a pub, we could go and work at a gas station, we can work at a cafe, you can work at a restaurant. Like, okay, it may not be glamorous, but it pays the bills and it gives you a variety of skills. So why not? Enjoy the experience, try something new. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I can always come back to bookkeeping, I can always come back to finance, and yeah, I might have to do some upskilling, but for now, this is actually quite appealing. Another idea that we had was to maybe offer our services to some caravan parks. So that could be an exchange for something. So for example, we could do some housekeeping, garden work, etc. And in exchange, we can stay at the premises for a while. Or we could receive some money to be able to pay for food. So that's a really good way to do things too. And the great thing is, caravan parks are quite a big business. You're not limited to doing one task. One day you might be doing groundskeeping. One day you might be cleaning up different rooms. Another day you might be helping a reception. There's a whole range of different skills that can be taught, leveraged, and so I'm fairly confident that we could go pretty much anywhere and do anything and just try whatever. So again, you don't have to be limited to the stuff you've always done. There are jobs, there are opportunities everywhere you go. And so I'm wanting to be more optimistic and open to whatever opportunities are out there. Previously, there was a part of me that was really worried, because I was thinking to myself, gosh, I don't want to change what I'm doing because it enables me to live the lifestyle that I like. But what if the next opportunity opened the doors for us to do more of the things that we enjoy, more of the lifestyle that we are enjoying living in? What if the next opportunity enables us to create content which expands our YouTube channel? And so I'm trying to think a bit differently. I'm trying to open my eyes to new opportunities. And so we live in an ever-changing economic world at the moment, and one of the big things that so many people, including myself, have felt threatened by is artificial intelligence. Now, I've just listed probably a dozen different types of jobs that need doing on a regular basis. AI is hard to replace those jobs. So if you're in the same position as me and you're finding that work that you've been doing is slowing down and you have to try and pivot with a new way of doing things, maybe consider doing something that you've never done before. That's what I'm doing. I am seriously considering just going and doing something completely different. And if that means that I only work 3 days a week for someone else to bring some money in to pay for the food and the fuel, and the rest of the time I'm able to create content for you guys and go and explore my backyard and travel, then that's what I'm gonna do, because that sounds like fun. I'm actually really liking the idea of that. So although this has been a bit of a turbulent time for me and emotional and challenging in some ways, I'm really starting to see that I'm only limited by my own mind, and the opportunities are everywhere. And as long as you are willing to get out of your own way and talk to people, you're pretty sure that you can find someone who's willing to offer you an opportunity. Sometimes those opportunities are long-lasting, some of those opportunities are short-lasting. And I'll give you an example of this. There was a lady that Matt used to go to school with, I think it was 10 or 15 years ago. She decided to leave Melbourne, Victoria. Her intention was that she wanted to go to Darwin. And so she went on her merry way and she got most of the way there. She was in the Northern Territory, but she stopped at a little place in Mataranka. And while she was filling up her car with fuel, the man who was running the place said, "Oh, hey love, don't suppose you want a job?" She yelled, "Yeah, why not?" So she started working at the petrol station. And then somebody within that business decided to move on, and she took over their work and was now running the kitchen. And then someone else left and she was helping at the Caravan park. And so gradually she just made her way around doing different things, and she was there for almost 10 years. And she wasn't looking for anything else. She wasn't trying to upskill or become a career woman or anything like that. She was just enjoying the journey. And she was in a relationship with somebody for a while and they had their adventures, and then my understanding is that that relationship ended and she decided that she wanted to move on. And she did eventually make her way to Darwin. The point I'm trying to make is that because she was willing to do anything, she was offered opportunity after opportunity. Now, if you're going to be lazy and hope that the money is just going to come in, then, well, good luck to you, because the reality is you actually still need to apply yourself to bring some money in. But this is a perfect example of how being open to opportunities means that you can bring value to the marketplace. And this is the type of thing that I'm hoping to do in this next chapter. Over the next couple of years, I don't know what direction this is going to take us in, but I do know that we want to travel around Australia and then around the world. Are we going to be millionaires? We've done really well in the last 10 years, so our retirement plan is looking pretty good. But doing this sort of work, we're not doing it for the money so much as we're doing it for the experience. It's not the type of work that's going to make you a CEO where you're earning hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. That's not the intention. The intention is to enjoy the journey. And for us, that's really important because we want to be able to travel and enjoy life. And if your life is about working really hard to put food on the table, looking after your kids, paying off your mortgage, planning for your retirement, that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And I've been there, except for kids part. Couldn't have them, so we just kept going without them. But the point being is my husband and I have done the career thing. We've planned for our future. We've owned our own home. We've bought investments. And okay, I'm not in a position where I wouldn't say that we're financially free, but at the same time, we're not destitute. We have great opportunities ahead of us, and I'm really quite excited to take you on the journey. So stick with us. Hang in there, subscribe, keep tuning in, because hopefully we'll be able to share more of what we're doing. And I mean, these are my mindful meanderings, so tomorrow might bring a whole new chapter, a whole new thought process, because I'm not a tree and I'm not going to be stuck in one place waiting for the opportunity to come to me. I'm going to keep looking, I'm going to keep learning, and I'm going to keep growing. Tomorrow I might have a totally different thought process, but for now, that's where I'm at. I think I've done the pity party thing. It didn't last very long, thank goodness. I don't want to sit in a place of blame, shame, guilt, victim mindset, but I won't lie, I've had my moments over the last little while where I've felt really vulnerable, and it's been a bit challenging, but I'm not allowing myself to get stuck there. Somebody said to me in one of my hardest moments, "This too shall pass." And at the time I really resented it when they said it, but they were absolutely right. If you've enjoyed what I've shared, please like, share and subscribe so that you can get the next episode and hopefully invite more people to join in the experience. And I wish you all the best and hope that you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Until next time, bye for now.